Hello, I'm Renata, and welcome to my presentation on CSS navigation principles and design. Could you imagine driving down an unfamiliar road with no street signs? It would be impossible to find your way. Just like street signs, website navigation is a key part of web design that helps guide users to the information they want. Although navigation is such an important part of web design, there's no standard way of creating navigation menus. With different audiences and purposes for each site, the designer needs to be able to create a unique yet functional navigation. Today, I'd like to share with you some basic guidelines for building website navigation, as well as walking through the process step by step. First, we'll talk about basic navigation principles. Your site navigation is like street signs. Road signs are functional and usually not decorative. In web design, a navigation menu can be decorative as long as it doesn't distract from its function. It should also be easy to locate. Most menus are at the top of the page or down the left side. A menu needs to stand out but not overpower the page. It needs to be easy to operate. Make sure your links are large enough to see and read clearly and they're easy to click on. Make sure all of your links work. Make sure it's easy to read and understand. Make sure your links are semantic. They should clearly indicate where you're going once you click. Use short and concise descriptions for your links. Never use 8 words when 2 will do. Consider adding breadcrumbs to help the user see where they are within the site. Breadcrumbs are a useful way of finding where you are on the site, especially a very large one with many pages. Keep a consistent style. Make sure menu items look like they belong together by using design principles such as proximity and grouping. Make sure your menu looks like it belongs on your site. It should stand out enough to be noticed, but not be so different that it looks like it should be on another website. Make sure your navigation doesn't change as you navigate through the site. It should be the same on each page to help the user navigate to any of the main pages at any time from any page. Here are 3 steps to building the main navigation. Start with the HTML first. Use HTML lists to add content and links to your main navigation. Then, CSS structure. Position your elements with CSS to provide structure. Use the CSS properties in the box model to place your items on the page where you want them. Add margins, padding, alignments, and change the layout using the display properties. Also, as you style the text, make sure that the size, typeface, and weight do not affect the positioning. Finally, the CSS styling. Add effects, gradients, rounded corners, hover, styles, etc. Now let's create a navigation bar. Let's start with a simple HTML skeleton that has an unordered list with links for our menu. Let me point out 2 wayfinding methods that we can use here. Notice we have 2 lists of links in our HTML. One is from the main navigation, and one is for breadcrumbs. We'll talk about those more in a minute. We also have a class of current on the link for the current page, which is the home page. This will let us style the link later with the highlights so that we can tell which page we're on. Next, we'll link to our style sheets. First, I'm going to apply a reset style sheet. A reset style sheet allows us to remove browser styling all at once so that we can start with a clean slate. Notice how it clears away any browser set margins and spaces. Everything is kind of jumbled together now. Now we're going to apply our regular style sheet. Now we have a nice, clean, colorful, and pretty design from our CSS. Now we're going to talk about breadcrumbs. That's this little second menu down here. Breadcrumbs help us know exactly where we are in the web page and how we got there. Pretend for a second it's not just home, about us, and contact us, but pretend about us, contact us is inside about us, and about us is inside home. We clicked on home to get to about us, and then clicked on about us to get to contact us. We're going to show how, by adding the breadcrumb class here to our unordered list, we can go into our CSS and style our breadcrumbs so that we can see them as a horizontal row separated by slashes. Here we styled the list. Give it some padding, take off the bullet points, and give it a background color. This allows them to be styled side by side using the display inline. And we also give it a font size. This gives a slash symbol before and behind each list item. As you can see, we're using an unordered list with the class breadcrumb, and we're also adding it to all the line items, list items, I apologize. We're also adding some color, making sure there's no text decoration. And this last one, and the current one, will have an underline. Notice how it's underlined when you hover. Now I'm going to tell you about a fun little CSS effect that I found. It's right here. We're going to style the links with a slow transition on the hover. Notice how the transition is a little different now. We're going to remove it for a quick second so you guys can see better what it looks like. Okay. So it just jumps up. It's on, it's off. It's on, it's off. It's kind of boring. But now if we take these little comment marks out and apply our style, we get this cool transition effect where it kind of fades in a little bit. What we're doing is we're selecting the A tag that's inside a list item, that's inside an unordered list, that's inside a nav, and we're applying a transition to it. That is my presentation, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.